Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here this morning. I've been busy over the last few days organizing the shifts that are going on in my life. As of the 1st of September, I will be released from my ministerial duties at Unity Williamsburg. And so there's changes that are happening and the energy is moving. And the last couple of days, I've been taking care of our beautiful three-dimensional details that require my attention at this time. So thank you for your patience and thank you for being here this morning. I realized very clearly over the last couple of days that there's a whole lot happening right now. And one of the things that came to mind was back in the 60s, in the mid to mid late 60s, there was a musical organization, a group called the Fifth Dimension. And y'all might remember the Fifth Dimension because they did a song that was very popular called The Age of Aquarius. And The Age of Aquarius sort of gave a layout of what it would be like when the shift on the three-dimensional plane from the um, uh, previous I just forgot the name of the previous age into the Aquarian age, and I find it now to be really an irony that the band's name was the Fifth Dimension, and in the song Age of Aquarius, they were describing what would happen when the third dimension or those of us on the third dimension who would ascend into the fifth dimension. And so the fifth dimension described what the fifth dimension might look like and how some of the things would happen in their song. And today those things are coming to fruition. So if you want to have an idea of kind of like what it, on a really, really loose idea about what it's going to look like when the ascension is complete, then you could listen to that song. Uh, so I've come to realize that the really the only thing I have been given to share with you, to offer you, is the reality that I am not this body and you are not your bodies. That I am, in fact, the divine presence of God wherever I am, and you are, in fact, the divine presence of God wherever you are. And that is what's required to realize that at some level, not completely, not totally, but to realize that at some level is the key to movement when the ascension takes place. And so, again, I have a prayer that I love very much about this particular understanding. And so I'm going to read the prayer this morning, and please relax and just be with it and allow the words to come to you and help you see yourself in this place. Because I promise you, in fact, who we are, who I am, is the presence of God wherever I am. I am God's experience right here on earth. The pleasure of Paul Fitzsimmons is that God, the creator, the absolute, the total, experiences three-dimensional life through Paul Fitzsimmons. God experiences Paul as God's self. The key for Paul is to experience Paul as God's self. And so, from Emmett Fox, here is the prayer, the presence. God is the only presence and the only power. God is fully present here with me now. God is the only real presence. All the rest is but shadow. God is perfect good, and God is the cause only of perfect good. God never sends sickness, trouble, accident, temptation, nor death itself, nor does God authorize these things. We bring them upon ourselves by our own wrong thinking. God, good, can cause only good. The same fountain cannot send forth both bitter and sweet water. I am divine spirit. I am the child of God. In God I live and move and have my being, so I have no fear. I am surrounded by the peace of God, and all is well. I am not afraid of people. I am not afraid of things. I am not afraid of circumstances. I am not afraid of myself, for God is with me. The peace of God fills my soul. I have no fear. I dwell in the presence of God, and no fear can touch me. I am not afraid of the past. I am not afraid of the present. I am not afraid for the future, for God is with me. The eternal God is my dwelling place, and underneath are the everlasting arms. Nothing can ever touch me but the direct action of God Himself, or herself, or their self. And God is love. God is life. I understand this and I express it. God is truth. I understand this and I express it. God is divine love. I understand this and I express it. I send out thoughts of love and peace and healing to the whole universe, to all trees and plants and growing things, to all beasts, to all birds, to all fishes, and to every man and every woman and every child on earth, without any distinction. If anyone has ever, that's really important. So I send out love to beasts and birds and fishes and to every man, woman, and child on earth without any distinction. I send out love to fishes the same as I send out love to my fellow man. It's a really, really, really empowering understanding. If anyone has ever injured me, done me any kind of harm, I fully and freely forgive them now. And the thing is done forever. I loose them and let them go. I am free and they are free. If there is any burden of resentment in me, I cast it upon the Christ within, the presence of God as I am, and I go free. God is infinite wisdom, and that wisdom is mine. That wisdom leads and guides me so I shall not make mistakes. Christ in me is a lamp unto my feet. God is infinite life, and that life is my supply, so I shall want for nothing. God creates me, God sustains me. Divine love has foreseen everything and provided for everything. One mind, one power, one principle, one God, one law, one element. Closer is God than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. I am divine spirit, the child of God, and in the presence of God I dwell forever. I thank God for perfect harmony, and so it is, and so it is, and so it is. I repeat this prayer often. And the reason I repeat it often is because I am programmed by this three-dimensional plane and everything on it, to include my parents and teachers and religious teachers and the society at large, and everything everything tells me that I am this body, and to take care of this body is my divine responsibility. The fact is, just like having an automobile, it is my responsibility to take care of this body and do the best I can to take care of this as though it's a temple, and keep it clean and keep it healthy so that it can carry around the divine essence of God that I am. Yet it's imperative to understand that I am that divine presence. And the best way I know to reprogram this space between my ears is through repetition, spoken out loud. I am the presence of God wherever I am. And for me, this prayer, the presence, truly reiterates and solidifies that understanding within myself. And that understanding is all I need to know, all I need to embrace to fulfill my requirement for ascension from this third three-dimensional plane into the fifth dimensional plane. That is, in fact, experiencing the promise that the Aquarian age brings. Will this three-dimensional plane here on Earth experience all of the promises that the fifth dimension singing group puts forth in their song, The Age of Aquarius? It's doubtful. How is it that the three-dimensional plane of struggle and strife and free will and the requirement to choose to be this way or that way, to express this or that, how can that learning space exist and be of value to those of us that require that understanding today, if in fact it is not here? It isn't the three dimension that shifts. It's the presence of God as an individual that shifts. And when that shift takes place, there is an ascension. There is a movement. It's a three-dimensional material human thing to a- attach ascension or descension, ascend or descend, and to apply that one is more positive than the other. That's all a human thing. But we are human and we are talking. And so to say that I intend to move into a place where sympathy and beauty and harmony and love permeate the entire fabric of the dimension, for me as a human being, speaking as a human being, the best reference to that is ascend into the fifth dimension. What there is to do to prepare myself for this is already done. What I must maintain and what I must realize is that I need to drop my habitual thoughts and thoughts that I'm not going to make it. We are conditioned to have fear. We are conditioned to believe that I am less than, that I am damaged, that I was born with original sin, that Jesus had to come down here and die on a cross to save me, to relieve me of the pressure of original sin, so that I may be available to a place called heaven. My friends, my beloveds, it's not so. It is not so. I am the presence of God wherever I am. Forgiveness is not required. I am already where I need to be. When I have, if you have chosen love, if you have intended to expand, to ascend, then you have. It is just that simple matter of opening your eyes to go with the opening of your heart, of rejoining with that divine presence which I am. Looking at or thinking about or comparing myself to someone else's journey is okay. It's a nice way to kill time, but that's its only real value because each of our journeys are independent. We are independent, sparkling glimmers of light of God. And each of our journeys is our own journey. God doesn't need to experience Paul Fitzsimmons in two different individuals to experience God's self as Paul takes only one Paul. To experience God's self as Larry takes only one Larry. That is the law. So each of us are unique. That's the main thing to realize, accept, and understand. Each of us are a unique expression of God. God is everything. And every aspect of God is separate and unique from the next aspect of God in every way. The best example is snowflakes. A million snowflakes fall out of the sky, and each snowflake is different. If it can happen with snowflakes, it can happen with Paul Fitzsimmons. Paul Fitzsimmons. It can happen with Larry Smith. It can happen with Joe Jones. Each individual, each distinct, each a singular experience. From the chrysalis of your solidification has emerged this most gorgeous butterfly. You, whose wings are unfolding and drying, the fully beautiful is on the verge of becoming fully visible. We must be patient, we must be loving, and we must trust in our process. And we must not give way to doubting our divine self. It's imperative to acknowledge always and to continuously reinstate I am the divine presence wherever I am. I am the expression of God now. That is the mission that Paul Fitzsimmons is given in this, on this three-dimensional plane, preparing for this ascension. My duty, Dharma, if you will, is to shout it from the rooftops, is to say to you, whoever you are, over and over and over until it becomes so for you, that you are the presence of God wherever you are. It is my duty. It is my gift. It is my agreement to offer every technique that shows up in my world available to you so that you may apply that technique to yourself and realize yourself as the presence of God. The more you realize yourself as the presence of God, the thinner the veil of the three-dimensional plane becomes. And the ascension into a world right here of fifth dimension practice will become so. The three-dimension practice, the three-dimensional plane with all its stuff will remain right here as it is right now. And all of this warring and all of this money and all of this struggle and all of this two different sides and all of this guy's right and that guy's wrong and all of let's have a war and all of violence and hunger and pain will remain right here as it is. It's not going anywhere. I am ascending. I am rising to a higher state of consciousness. That state of consciousness is referred to in our spiritual book, Western world spiritual book, the Bible, as Eden, heaven on earth. And we are ascending there right now. So let go. Be free. Acknowledge yourself on the move. See yourself today as who you are, intellectually, emotionally, physically, spiritually. View who you were from a memory point of view and realize the movement that is experienced by each individual. This is the ascension. It is happened. Sympathy and love abounding. And all is well. And all is well. I acknowledge you as the presence of God. I acknowledge myself as the presence of God. Be well. I'll be back with you soon. Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.